Wow, we're getting quite a team. Thank you guys for coming. Let me admit some more people. Welcome. Thank you for coming to the first ever Hita Karana in action. But Johnny, maybe you want to add your website. I remember it was a beautiful place. Let me just add anything. Nice. Living Food Lab. Nice. Thank you. Thank you, Paulina. Nice to have you. While we're waiting for the rest of the people, perhaps anybody wants to say a little something. Let's have, I think I've seen Johnny before. Johnny, you wanna introduce yourself and maybe your company for just 1 to 2 minutes?
Sure. Hi, I'm Johnny from Bali Eco Stay. We have a small eco lodge in central Bali, 8 bungalows, we maximum 25 people. We produce most of our own electricity and most of our own food, grow heritage rice, and yeah, we've been madly renovating since we closed on the 20th of March, and rebuilt the restaurant and building a new yogashala and rebuilt our fish ponds and just generally upgrading the place. So
that's amazing, Johnny.
Glad to be here.
Johnny, what would you like to learn today from this webinar? Because we have 3 amazing speakers, very prominent people in Bali who have focused on permaculture and sustainability. So what is one thing you'd like to learn more about this webinar?
Well, I guess more about the Balinese way of doing things. There's sort of enough of us Bulays around. I'd like to learn more from the Balinese.
That's a very good point. That's a very good point. Bali is really amazing because it requires a collaboration from all parties. So to have something like this, where all the speakers are Indonesian in a sense, can be seen as quite rare.
Yeah.
So
it was of great interest to join today because of that fact.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, there's I've shared this webinar to all my Indonesian friends also, because many people don't know what's happening in Bali, the good parts, which is the permaculture, the movement, and which is why we have these 3 amazing speakers who will talk more about this. Talk about their company and what they expect from this webinar. Let's go with Paulina, because you have your website, so we know who you are. Paulina?
Sorry, did you say my name? Oh, yes,
yes,
hello.
Yes.
So I'm Paulina, and I'm from Living Food Lab. Nice to see some familiar faces. And I'm here because this is such a unique opportunity to learn from Indonesians, Balinese. I feel like I'm totally an open book today. I really just want to listen and learn. I have nothing specific. My particular interests are food, and so I'll be having my ears tuned in on that level in particular. But anything, I'm just curious, and I'm grateful to be here.
All right.
And for us, Living Food Lab, we're a vegan restaurant in Canggu. And we also have 2 cafes at the Green School, but that's been closed now for 4 months. So we're focused in Canggu.
All right. We'll also asking questions about food and food production. I know one speaker has started a movement for urban growing in Denpasar.
Mm.
So we'll learn more about that. I have to say a shout out to David Susandi. He's the Vice President for Indonesia in the Juniors Chamber International Group, JCI, which is a group focusing on young activists, so below 40 years old, who want to give back to the community. So David, if you can hear me, thank you for joining this meeting.
Thank you, Krishna.
Yes.
It's a pleasure, really.
What do you want to know about this webinar? What take back do you want to bring home to all the members of JCI?
Yeah, well, actually, it's always be one of also our focus that JCI wanted the members or like gather all the young people, which is below 40, to giving back to Bali, to our community. And it's also always, it's always in our kind of plan. Our kind of mission that having the collaboration and learning from the others is always the way, one of the way that we can actually give bigger impact to the community. So yeah, I'm really coming with empty expectations, and also empty so I can actually get as many as possible in this webinar. Yeah.
And David, you failed to mention that people in your membership, especially for Bali, are a majority all Balinese owners.
Yeah, actually 90% are the entrepreneur, and more than a half is actually also like inheritance their family businesses.
Right.
Yeah.
So like I said in the very beginning, we're trying to push for the BaliPledge. So before I talk about the BaliPledge, let's talk about what needs to happen for anything to happen. What needs to happen is, of course, a collaboration from everybody. So we have a need from collaboration from the government, from business owners, both expats and locals. And we need all the people who come to Bali to understand what they're coming to Bali for. We live in a strange time where now we have time to really think about what's happening in Bali. COVID has really equalized everybody. Now suddenly people have time to think. And this is the right time to reopen Bali with a new perspective, which is we cannot just have mass tourism as the solution for Bali's opening. It needs to have a sense of specificity. People want to come here, and they need to come here without taking too much out of Bali, but instead giving back. So before we begin this webinar, I'd like to share my screen and talk about the BaliPledge, which is what we hope you all will pledge at the end of this webinar. If you have done already, good job, thank you very much. Please share it around. The pledge is simple. We're not trying to recreate anything. The pledge is to remind people about a Balinese philosophy that guides everything in Bali. It's called Hita Karana. And Hita Karana focuses on 3 areas. The first is to be harmonious with other people. The second, to be harmonious with the environment. And finally, to be harmonious with a higher being. So the pledge essentially wants you to take a step into redefining what Bali is. It could be that you want to be more in touch with your local community. It could be that you want to preserve nature, or better yet, focus on sustainability for your business. It could also be that you came to Bali or are in Bali because you want to get in touch with a higher being, whether it be God or spirits. You want to be in touch with that. And so hopefully at the end of the webinar, you will see this pledge and you will click agree to protect the natural resources, agree to be in harmony with the local community, and agree to respect the culture and essence of Bali. Then you put in your name, your email, and you pledge. Many have already pledged. can see here the companies, but it needs to be a collaboration between everybody, locals and expats, or foreigners or outsiders, whatever that may be. Now, it's 2:11. I would like to introduce the speakers for tonight. A big thank you for their time in coming here. Now, I'd like to first introduce Pak Ida Bagus Nama Rupa, or Pak Gusde. He is the director and co-founder of Pod Chocolate. Pod Chocolate, if you don't know, was commented by Forbes Life as Indonesia's best chocolate. Everybody, a big hello to Pak Gusde. Pak Gusde, say hello. Don't forget to unmute. Don't forget to unmute.
Sorry.
Yes.
Hey, hello everyone. Om Swastiastu. That's what we always said to start everything in Bali culture. Okay.
Maybe tell us more about yourself. You know, how long have you been with Pod Chocolate? How did you get in touch with Pod Chocolate? How did you get in touch with the chocolate industry?
Okay.
A little background, just 2 to 3 minutes.
Sedikit aja video. Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks to you, Bro Krishna. So I really appreciate giving special time to sharing everything with you. Yeah, just call me Gus Day. Yeah, my name is Hita Bagus because I'm 110% Balinese, so I don't have to explain a lot about that. So in my daily life, I'm a director of Pod Bali Chocolate, and then I'm an active people in our tradition and our community in Bali, of course. So my hobby is simple: running, cycling, and swimming, all in the free nature. Yeah, I don't like swimming pool. I'm always swimming on the beach, in the ocean, and I'm always running on the mountain. So. Yeah, every day, and also during the COVID time. I'm one of the voluntary for leading a task force COVID in my village. So I've been really active to involve this foreman, how to coordinating, how to solve the problem when you got COVID and everything in the village, especially to our community, what we have to do, how to stop it, and how to giving people understand not to be worried because that's gonna make your immune system getting dropped, something like that. Okay, I think that's enough about myself.
Thank you, Pak Gusde. Yes, I heard earlier that you were in the task force for COVID. It must not be an easy job, so thank you for doing that. And now, to the second speaker, we're gonna have Krishna, not this one, the other better Krishna, who's a permaculture practitioner. He has started many movements, Perma Blitz movement. That's where suddenly people get together and try to grow food. His father started Bumi Langit, which is an institute in Jogja for permaculture, teaching farmers to grow food without any chemicals. He has also a farm in Pupuan, growing organic food, and he has started the Kawe Kreasi, which is a movement where people learn to farm. And the last one, which is really important, he is starting the movement to grow food in urban areas. Krishna, am I correct? Which part am I have to be corrected? It's all yours, Krishna. Unmute, unmute. Unmute, unmute. No, you're mute, you're mute. Press the unmute button. Yes.
Okay. Hello. Yeah, you got it pretty much correct. Yeah, I just keep on making new things. It's a problem. Yeah, so yeah, just basically my story is I kind of grew up in a farm. I grew up on a farm up in Bali in the Pupuan area up in Tabanan. My dad already started there for 30 years ago with permaculture, and kind of grew up with that. And only when I'm on my teens that I started to get interested in permaculture, actually through learning about natural dyes and doing batik. And I was always grown in a community sense. So anything that I try to actually build with the people is coming from their own, and just really just sharing my knowledge as much as I can
Yeah.
for them, and to start something new for them,
And
and
about
giving as much examples.
Krishna, about your knowledge, just to really introduce yourself, I heard that you went to Jordan to learn about permaculture to make a desert more green. Is that correct?
Yes, so that was in 2015, and I got asked to join an internship in Jordan with Jeff Lawton, and I got interested in it because I'm focused on the tropics. I really don't. I want to understand the tropics more, and try to understand how I actually can possibly help this country that I live in, and the surrounding community that I live with. But I got a lot of people asking me to help a lot on the eastern side of Indonesia, which is a dry tropical area. So when I heard I was offered for Jordan, I just went there. It's like, okay, if I can grow something in the desert, how can I not be able to do it in a tropical area? So I wanted to learn a bit of a dry land, arid climate technique to bring home, and just to get ready for the extreme.
Right. So thank you, Krishna. And by the way, some people might get all this amazing knowledge from amazing people and keep it to themselves, but you have really tried to give it back. You tried to knowledge. So thank you for that. And finally, our last speaker is Pak Janur. Pak Janur is the co-founder of Moksa Ubud. Moksa is a vegan plant-based restaurant, and they grow their own food. They practice permaculture, sustainability. So Pak Janur, a big thank you for coming. I'd like to say hello and perhaps add something more to your great portfolio. Maybe explain more about your experience starting the business in Moksa Ubud.
Yeah, hey everyone. Thank you for inviting me in this webinar. So my name is, my full name is Ima de Januriasa, 100% Balinese. A lot of you know that I start the restaurant called Moksa with Chef Made Runata. And really the principle of the Moksa restaurant is community and then environments, as much as we could. To speak into this topic today is the Hita Karana, which is connection human to higher being, human and human to the environment. Many projects that I have right now, Moksa included, and then permaculture, which is as I see a lot of permaculture experts here like Bodhi and the one got the name, just speaking right now. As you know, the three principle of the permaculture is care for the people, create abundance. The other project that I have right now is a plastic exchange, which is people bring plastic and I will give rice, which is also to hit that Hita Karana, to empower Balinese people to prosper through a barter program that providing food or rice in this case in exchange for plastic. So if you look at that three projects that I have, all of those things is related to Hita Karana. So the prosper for the people, the dignity, empowerment for the people, and also good for the environment.
Okay. So I'd like to know more about the plastic exchange program. So as you know, today's webinar is about three topics: community, environment, and about the higher being, to try to rebrand what Bali means. And let's start with the environment. Can you tell us more about your plastic exchange program, what it is, and how do you make money out of it? Or is it just out of goodwill? Tell us more about that.
Well, I think a lot of us, first of all, what success? Success. we measure with money and all of that, but there is many success, you know, this plastic exchange has really come from the phrase that I like is called inside of the crisis, there is an opportunity. You know, inside of the crisis, there's an opportunity. What is the crisis that we have right now? COVID, for one. Two, because of COVID, people lost their job. And then they need basic needs in Bali, which is rice. And then the third one is there is many problems that we have right now, crisis. One of them is plastic, meaning, plastic is a problem or crisis. And then the fourth one is really that we never really talk about, or we don't even aware of, that when there is a disaster in the world, you know, people come and then they give. So there is nothing wrong with giving, nothing wrong with receiving. But in this case, sometimes we are conditioning people to wait for handouts, so to speak. And I was thinking, you know, how do I want to help Balinese people to empower them to find their dignity without waiting? And then how do I clean the environments and then also help the people? So that's where the plastic exchange is born. So I was thinking, what about if they bring plastic and I'll give rice? Your question, do I make money from it? No. You know, this is totally right now it's you know, through the donation, but moving forward, this is the big picture. Then like you said in the beginning of this call, it's about collaboration. You know, I start from here and then we're going to collaborate. So the idea is moving forward from here, we're going to create an application. So you have your smartphone, there's going to be apps right here, it's called Plastic Exchange. So what happened is people can bring this plastic to the village or to wherever they can bring the plastic, and then they get a point. And then, go ahead.
Can I ask, how much plastic has been collected already? Have you measured?
Yep, we measured everything. I started from the beginning of May until now. So this is not even 3 months. 3 months, August 3rd, I already collected 20 tons of plastic. So that's kilo plastic.
Wow. Wow. That's, I mean, I think everybody, that's amazing. Not only are you trying to reduce the plastic in Bali, but you're also giving people food. So instead of just giving something like sembako for free just to donate, you're thinking about how can I make this a win-win situation? People to just not wait. So this is already a straight inspiration. If you're a Balinese owner or you have a business in Bali, maybe instead of just giving donations directly to the people, ask for something, maybe a kilo of plastic for a kilo of rice. That could be something to motivate them, right? I'd like to hear about, yes, I'd like to hear also about the other speakers. So I know that Krishna has started the urban farming, which of course people work to eat. But if you can grow your own food, that will solve all the problems. Krishna, are you able to share more about that urban farming movement that you're doing?
Hello?
Yes, Krishna.
Okay, you don't mind if I don't have my face on at the moment?
Don't worry, remember how you look like.
Yeah, no, it's just like connectivity wise, I'm a bit far from the phone to get the Wi-Fi because again, I'm in the middle of the garden. I'll show my face again later. So, yeah, our project right now is actually in Bundapend in Basaritara in Banjar called Tigasari. When the COVID started, we kind of thought about, okay, most people have to work to actually eat, and some people actually have to work that day and eat that day. So while they still have savings and stuff like that, we wanted to start something in the city to actually produce in any amount of space that can be possible for these people, and just to actually not to fully sustain themselves because it's kind of impossible with the space that that it's needed. Can you hear me?
Yes,
Just in
yes.
case. Okay. So we we started in that area, and it's almost kind of like a slum area, and we're really lucky to actually get these people who's really just eager to do it, and they just exploded and flourished with everything that we give. We give one, they make it tenfold, and now they're having their own garden. They're already harvesting now, and we're building community gardens in the space, and in empty lots in the city for other people to actually take and harvest also, because they're from what they're growing. If they're growing certain types of herbs, just from those herbs, just from those few vegetables, it's enough for them to actually uh, pick just from the edges of their garden, just
And
to actually help them in economy wise for now.
Krishna, I was just
And
about to
of
ask
course,
you
help.
about the economy wise. What are you able to, because now people are growing their own food, what have they been able to get? Like, for example, economy wise, do you have any kind of measurement on what kind of money they've been able to make or savings from not buying food from outside?
Okay, so in the understanding of the economy wise is basically, rather than selling their vegetables, they eat it themselves. And by doing so is actually, because most of these people don't really cook, and sometimes they buy, and they would say, if you can actually save and not buy a lot of vegetables, just to kind of reduce the amount of expenses every day that you buy things, uh, monthly and yearly, it actually adds up quite a lot. So we're trying to support that at the moment, and try to just kind of reduce the amount of expenses they use, and just supporting in that sense. Most people in Bali actually spend around 50,000 rupiah per day to buy all their vegetables and just to cook. If they're buying food from outside, that means more. The expenses are more.
Okay.
Their expenses. That's really the main
So
key.
right now, if someone wants to learn about urban growing, where did they go to? Do they contact you? Is there a website that they should go to? And is it open to
Uh,
everybody?
so we are open to public on the weekends for people to see the garden and stuff like that, because we kind of opened it for the locals to actually just for the people there to actually show it and tell their story, because it's much more interesting, really, because they kind of, it's from a just dry land to now just gardens everywhere.
Okay.
So you can go to Kabun Berdaya in Instagram. Right now we don't have any website. We just moved to Instagram and Facebook. It's called Kabun Berdaya, and through there you can contact and DM us, and if you want to visit.
Wow, that's amazing. So for those who are in this meeting, the keyword is Kebun Berdaya, and you will learn urban growing. So if you have any employees who have you sent on unpaid leave, I'm also guilty of that at Serenity. You can do so, and at least they can do something. Now, I also like to hear in terms of the environment on a larger scale production from Pak Guste, from Pod Chocolate, because of course Pod Chocolate produces a lot of chocolate, and they did it a bit differently than other companies. They decided, yes, that's right, buddy. They decided to go not only buying in bulk from some supplier, they went and helped the farmers to understand more the value of what they were making. So maybe Pak Guste, can you maybe explain how pot chocolate not only changed
Pas saya ngomong aja rekam.
not only changed the chocolate in Indonesia, but also changed how farmers viewed chocolate.
Okay.
Tell us more about
Okay.
that experience.
Okay, thank you. So, well, I have to start to telling the story why we decided to making chocolate. Yeah, of course, me and my partner Toby Challenger Scarrett. Yeah, he is the founder of Pod Chocolate. also my partner. So 11 years ago, yeah, we feel sorry, of course, with many, many, many reasons. Yeah, because we're speaking about environment. I will take from the environmental side. Yeah, because at that time we still can see the farmer still using chemicals, still using pesticide, and they don't really know. I don't want to say really they don't care because they don't know. People without knowledge, we have to educate them. Just a simple circulation, yeah. To make a premium vegan chocolate, to make a premium plant-based chocolate like what we produce now, we need a premium and a good quality of cacao bean. So where is the good quality of cacao bean is coming from? Of course, they must be coming from a healthy cacao tree. So where is the healthy cacao tree happen? When the farmers feeling happy to be a cacao farmers. Yeah, what make them happy is not complicated. It's very simple. There are only two things will make the farmers happy. All farmers all over the world, I think. First, a sustainable market, because we know in Indonesia or in Bali especially, the market is really fluctuating for many, many farmer resorts. Yeah, so during the big harvest, the prices drop. When they don't have a harvesting time, when they're hard to get in the market, the price is going up. So something like this is a big challenge for the farmer level. So if we come with a sustained market, they will following us. So the second one is a good price. Yeah. 11 years ago, when we just start the factory of pod chocolate, the price of cacao bean, unfermented bean, because they don't know about fermentation yet, is only 12,000 rupiah. So it's like $1. It's very low. Yeah, because in Bali, they don't have big land. Yeah, like one farmers, they operating like 5,000 square meters area, so they only can make 1 ton a year. So from $1 per kilo, they only get 10 million per year. It's very low. So we start working from here. First, what we have to do is educating the farmers. Stop using pesticide, stop using chemical fertilizer and thing. Because first, it's not good for the environment and not good for the farmer itself. This is not healthy. We all agree. And then, okay.
Sorry, just I had to cut because often farmers say, I use pesticides to save my crop because if not, I will lose money. And you're telling us that by using pesticides, they will make less money and they will make more money by using no pesticides.
Exactly.
What is your trick? How do you protect the plants?
Yeah, this is not a trick. Yeah, we're spending a long time. This is like we're spending 2.5 to 3 years. So we also involve some expert from the, farming technology university and everything. How to replace the pesticide with natural pesticide to controlling the maybe whatever annoying the crop. Yeah, so we try to use natural one. So it's like we start using pheromone, so replace the pesticide. Yes, of course they will following us. Like what I said, when we guarantee we will buying your product and in a good price. You know what we buying the farmers now? We from $1 now, pod chocolate will buying direct. The cacao bean is 50,000 rupee per kilo. So from $1, we buying direct 50,000 per kilo. So from $1 to $5 direct. And then so we now our production is before the COVID year because we following the regulation from the government. We cannot import our stuff. So before the COVID, we can produce like 10 to 20 ton of chocolate a month. So we need a lot of chocolate. We already get it from outside of Bali. And I told you guys, we not only collaborate with cacao farmers. Our chocolate is plant-based, so it's mean no milk. So we need a lot of supply of kesu, a lot of supply, and then sugar also, we use the brown sugar. So because we really care about our social, our environment, because from what we experienced, I fully agree with Pak Janur and Pak Krishna. Yeah, they all doing amazing thing. I fully agree. To make three Hita Karana, what we're talking today can be sustained, we have to be really focusing how to increase the economy of the community, the economy of the people in Bali especially, or in Indonesia generally. Because when you can giving away or a line, how you can increase your economy level in a general or in a big way, of course, whatever you're saying the next, they will following you. for me, according to our experience as a team here about chocolate, it's just gonna be, sorry, excuse my word, this is bullshit. Talking about environmentally sustainability when people are angry, when they don't know where I can selling my product. So what I have to do? Now is a big harvesting time. The prices drop. No, please. So we're educating our salt farmers, our banana farmers, our chili farmers. Stop pesticide. Stop doing the chemical thing, and we'll buying you in a good quality. What does it mean in a simple word? Following our quality will give you a good price. So this is how the way we're caring about our environment, we're caring about our community, because we're very happy. We thanks to the Mother Nature, Indonesian people and the world reacting positively to our chocolate. We're becoming the best chocolate in Indonesia, and maybe we are the first plant-based chocolate in the world. Which you guys, most of you is vegan here.
So I'd like to ask the question to the other two speakers. In
Okay.
regards to COVID, is it going to be easier to become more eco-friendly or harder? Because, like you said, Auguste, when a crisis happens, people are no longer thinking about the environment because they need to focus on how to make money, right? The biggest fear is that we open the borders in September and suddenly all our good intention to become more sustainable is put outside of the window just because we want to survive. So maybe Pak Janur or Pak Krishna has some advice on this, or has seen what we can do, or is there a way that we can, tell people or the government to convince them, hey, there's a different way. Maybe Pak Janur or Pak Krishna has an opinion?
Please.
I can start. I know I agree with Pa Ida Bagus. To make everything sustainable, there's need to be three things happening. One is the economy, the second one is the people, and then the third one is the environment. Need to be at the same. If we just focus on the economy, not the two, it's not going to happening. If just the people, not the other two, it's not going to happening. So, yeah, I think we all have different fire here. My fire is about people and about the environment, and then there is research showing right now in this crisis there is more people want to give, want to help. So, and then for me, how do I harness that a good intention from people want to give through this exchange? Instead of just giving without returning. So let's do this exchange through barter, which is it's really simple. Rice for plastic or plastic for rice. So I come from the place. There's abundance. There is always resources out there, and either money or barter in any kind of thing, And for me, to do the environment for now, I'm focused on plastic. So that's my opinion.
That's a great point. If you come from abundance, there'll always be more. Perhaps you can suggest one idea that people living in Bali can do right now. Something that you can suggest that people, the first thing they can do, only one thing, if that's it, only one thing that we can do to be more closer to nature. You have one idea?
May I say something?
Yeah.
I think Pak Janur wants to finish something first. So I'm going to let Pak Janur first.
Well, we in Bali we live in nature, so that's one, And then I think the second one, and again, I go back to this: how do we preserve the nature? So there is a lot of different programs that are happening all over the world. One of them is a Take 3. So if all of us in Bali take 3 plastic every day, so that's really simple.
Okay, thank you. Take 3 plastics. And what about you, Krishna? Is Take 3 plastic only solution? Do you have any other ideas?
Well, the process of what we're doing now in Kebun Berdaya is actually, first we talk about the food production from food. It starts to actually help a little bit in the economy. Pak Janur and the Mante is already kind of working on the essence of just having people actually getting the value of what their product is, and that's really, really important. that is missing really in Indonesia. Um, the respect and the respect of the produce of our farmers. Uh, I'm kind of like getting ready for the people in the city because a lot of people in the youth right now, back then at least, they're going to the city, seeing the city as a future, as something that actually becomes the point where they can thrive and be cool, make money and stuff like that. And I kind of want to make a space where at least when I see the youth up in my village and they're going down, it's like, yeah, I'm gonna be in Bali, I'm gonna go down and then Pasar Canggu and stuff like that, party, being cool with all the guys and stuff like that. And suddenly they say, oh wow, everybody in the city, people are gardening. It's like, I got a garden back at home. Why? Why is this happening? Why is this movement going on? It's like, and then they start joining in and starting to value more about um, what they actually have in the village. My role is that really because what Janores and what Made does is something that is way harder than what I'm doing because teaching farmers or guiding farmers is not the easiest thing to do because you're guiding somebody who already knows how to do their thing. It's easier when you don't really know what you're doing and you teach them about it.
Okay.
But so yeah, right now there's with people in the COVID era and stuff like that. It's surprisingly enough because a lot of people were working in the hotels and stuff like that, and now they're being kicked out. Everything's closed down, so a lot of people lose their jobs. A lot of people are moving back to the village and start gardening again. Surprisingly enough, I see a lot of people starting to think about not money but food.
Mm.
It's like the first thing they think is to make a garden to feed themselves.
I didn't get the last part.
At the moment,
I didn't get the last part. What did you say?
in another two banjar.
Krishna, the connection is
Enough with the COVID crisis.
I'm sorry, it's breaking up. Just
Yeah,
check.
yeah, the connections.
Let me.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yeah. Okay. Yes. So finish the point. Finish the point. What can we do right now?
Okay. So right now, everybody's actually going back to the city. People who doesn't actually get jobs are going back to the village and start gardening again. Surprisingly enough, not for actually to produce a certain amount of money, but to actually produce a certain amount of food for themselves. And I see a lot of the same patterns happening. And there's at least two more banjars asking me, it's like, how do we do organics? And I'm surprised how much actually through this crisis, a lot of people are actually opening up to the purpose of actually growing something more naturally and more healthy. It's like one in Banjar and Denpasar. Right now, there's like one in Bona and one in Sange asking me to, like, well, we want to do organics. We want to learn. And it's a really blessing in disguise in a way that it's giving us,
Krishna,
opening to that.
I'm gonna ask a question for all the speakers here, because we've gathered here a great attendance of Bali-based owners. How can we help you? So how can we help do more of what you're doing? For example, Krishna, you talked about teaching others to do organic. What can owners in Bali do to help you?
Okay. That is actually a really tricky question because we did all this movement not based on any support. We did it based on the people. So every time somebody asks you, how do we help you? Not really sure. Come to the garden and help us? Because when we started all these movements, we wanted to get a grant and stuff like that, and nobody came to support us at the time. And we're like, fine, we're just gonna do it. And now it's like things just coming in and things are done because people are just sharing. It's like, we need bamboo to make a nursery. Somebody gave us bamboo. We need we need some structures. We need cement and stuff like that. Somebody donated us some cash to actually buy a little bit of cement. So it was really community based movement. It was a lot of people gets confused. It's like, what's Kebun Berdaya? What's this? It's like, what organization this is. It's like, it's not an organization. It's a movement. It's these people trying to make their life better while doing so, making nature a little bit more better, and actually giving them a little bit of peace of mind while being healthy.
Thank you, Krishna. What about Pak Gusde and Pak Janur? What can we do to help you? Because you're doing a lot for the community. What can owners in Bali do to help you? Maybe Pak Janur first?
Sure. For me, it's really, this is for Bali, and all of us here in a speaker right here has a business in Bali. When the environment is clean, and again, I'm speaking about plastic just for one now. If the plastic is less, in a river, in a ocean, that's going to be better for all of us. The first thing that you can do for us is to spread the words. So that doesn't cost you money. Spread the word through your network. Secondly is, we can collaborate with you on how to we do this. And next month, I'm going to speak with Bali Hotel Association and how can we collaborate in this? Because I believe with collaboration, we are stronger. I would love to also reach out with Pak Ida Bagus on how we can do this together. Because again, everybody in this speaker, everybody here in this community has their own fire that they are stoking. Mine, it's plastic, community, the dignity of Balinese people. So that's my fire through this plastic exchange. So I would love to collaborate with single one of you through permaculture, through hotel, through anything that keep my fire alive. So
okay, spread the word. Thank you, Pak Janur. What about Pak Gusde? You're on mute. You're on mute. So what can we do to help you achieve more what you do?
Yeah, I think it's because clearly, like what Pak Krishna and Pak Janur said, we all has different, I'm going to say in a young word, style. Yeah. So this is our style. So we really focusing on environmentally on this way, make us people economy strong. And then of course, in one time we coming with education, because in my personal side, education is the most important thing to changing thing. So that's why me and my other partner already built a school in Karangasem. You can take a note. The school name is Tri Hita Alam Eco School. So this school, we opened it for orphanage in Karangasem for free, but we giving them international standard of education. So here we will educating our agent of changing to look after the environment, not only about economy. Look after environment, and my side, like Pak Janur said, he really concerned about plastic, environment, and people. I really concerned about
Nice.
okay, and my daily life. Yes, but what is my concern is because I'm born in Bali, I concern in Bali people tradition. I'm not worried. I know we will find a way how to deliver this tradition to our young generation. So this is my concern. Education.
Education. Great.
All about education. So that's why in our factory we have chocolate education, we have chocolate class, we have environmental class, we have healthy food class. All about education.
So there's one question that I like to go back and have an answer from each speaker. All of you talked about the importance of the young people finding farming cool, or going to the city trying to be something and then actually coming back and realizing that food is more important. So there's a challenge that we can all agree upon, is the balance between the young generation to balance the culture of Bali and modern life. Or in essence, how do you balance between being modern in Bali and yet being traditional? So being modern, getting new technology, but being traditional, not forgetting our roots. So where's the balance in all that? Does anybody want to start first? The balance.
May I?
Yes, please, Krishna.
That's the interesting part and about permaculture, really, because the essence of permaculture is actually really rooted down into indigenous culture and indigenous knowledge. And what I usually, at least when I speak with farmers, I usually don't use the term permaculture because they're quite traumatized with new things because it happens quite a lot. I use it more into the understanding of actually bringing back the nostalgic root, at least for farmers, of just like how how the old times actually produces quite a lot, and actually how easy people back then live, and how they actually how their mothers and grandmothers actually produce, and they actually remember it and they know it's actually producing a lot. It's just hard to actually flip back. And when I do it for youth, it's actually because a lot of youth these days doesn't really understand much about their own culture. And to actually understand it again, it just seems like mumbo jumbo most of the time. Unless it's more formality because they need to do it, because if not, they're gonna be have trouble with the family. So permaculture is quite useful in the understanding to actually most of these youth, the modern age, to actually connect through modern language the indigenous essence of how we live in any culture, in Bali, in Java, in any parts of Indonesia. It actually helps bridge it quite well. And the practices and the beliefs, may that be from the understanding of Hita Karana, really works well with the ethics and principles of permaculture, because it came from the same source with it, which is nature. So we're kind of I kind of use that to actually make it like, guys, you have a lot of knowledge, you just haven't really, like, this is something of importance for you and you actually hold it. Let me translate it to you, that this can be something more that you can actually hold and build. Not saying no to modern life, but actually to take essence of how modern is and then bring your traditional essence with it. Sorry, it's a bit vague of an explanation, because if I go too details, it's gonna weigh.
Right. Basically, it, depending on who you're talking to, if they're older, convince them with nostalgia of the good old times, and if they're young, permaculture is the new brand name to kind of put the old into the modern, right? What about Pak Guste, Pak Janur? What is the balance between modern and traditional, or cultural terms? That what is more important, a new iPhone or following your family's traditions? Where's the balance in that, and how can we combine that for the future of Bali? Where's the balance?
For me, it's really, my wife is from outside of Bali. She's from America. So, and then I live in this two different world, which is the Western and Eastern world. And I really like it in a way, I take the best of both sides. I do my tradition, which is, ceremony and all of that. And then also really combining the convenience of Western lifestyle. If you see like in Bali, with all the tourism that come to Bali, it's really you look at all of this the blend between Eastern and Western. Not just through the culture, but also the building, the food. Everything that we see now in Bali, it's evolved, because culture cannot be stagnant, especially in Bali, religion, culture, and daily life is it's inseparable, I really agree with what Krishna said, that by doing a permaculture, by doing restaurant that I do right now, I incorporate all of those elements, with this plastic exchange also, I'm looking at that, the three Hita Karana, about the environment, is about the people, and then about the dignity of the Balinese people. So for me, really, it's one of my teachers said, our game is how to get to balance, is not stay in a balance, because when you stay in a balance, it's, I always said balance is boring, but the juicy part of it is how can you go back to balance? That's for me the dance, like, oh, okay, I'm a little bit to the west now, oh, let's go back to the east, oh, a little bit to the east, let's go to the middle. So that's the beauty for me. It's like to dance in these lines,
That's a great way, the dance of the balance. If I had to ask you, what is one thing in perhaps Balinese culture or being in Bali that you would like to change, if anything? Pak Janur.
What do we need to change? Change the only one that we can count on. So I don't have really specific answer for that. I think collaboration, and I understand you, like many people that I see in this attendees right here is doing such a lot of great thing. You are come here from a different background, which is the practical, the background, and then you combine that with the traditional, and then we make this wisdom become pragmatic. There's a lot of wisdom in Bali, but how can we make that pragmatic? So let me give you just one example here, what I mean by that. We talk about, again, go back this Three Hita Karana. What does that really mean if we look at in our body? If we look at in our body, there's three physical dimensions in our body. This one, the vertical line, is the dignity line, which is the connection human to God. If you want to dignify yourself, look at this line physically. And then this line, which is a connection human to human, which is our heart is here. When you open to something, you open your heart. And then the third one is to the environment, which is the front, back, left, and right. The front is our future. The back is our history. So how can we be in this Three Hita Karana in our body? Look at your alignment physically, because once you do that, that's when you are in your best, not in a balance, but almost balance, because balance is boring.
Thank you, Pak Janur. So in essence, to combine the past and the present and the future, you be the best of yourself. And now, Pak Guste, I'd like to ask you the question, what is the challenge of the young generation to balance, Balinese culture and modern life? In your opinion, what is the challenge stopping the young generation going back to farms, going back and practicing the old ways? You unmute.
Okay, so thank you. Well, pretty sure I fully agree with what the other speaker said, Pak Krishna and Pak Janur. This is exactly depend. This is many reason, and we have to has staging. What is the age? What is the background of the young people? Because I'm a totally Balinese. Even I communicate with international every day, but I'm 100% Balinese, and I'm living as a Balinese. So a very hard moment to educating a young people to make it balance. Balance is not an easy word to say. I give you one easy sample. As a young generation, as a young Balinese, they have two things on their mind normally. If they would like to following the old tradition, for example, in the village or in Bali, they call it banjar. They have to sacrifice time, of course. They have to sacrifice energy. For example, a very simple way, I bring you guys, all the participants today, on a really deep Balinese life, not only the casing of Bali. You're happy to see the art, you're happy to see the dance, you're happy to see our perform. No, but in a banjar, they have a like organization. They all has like a music group, for example. So normally in a banyak, there has a regulation. For a young generation, when you up to 15 years old, you have to be joining this group. Yeah, study together how to do Balinese music, how to do Balinese dance. This is not that simple. Our young generation need a lot of time to learn a lot about modern thing, modern life, technology, knowledge in modern way or in global way. But in the same time, they need to share the time also to learn about tradition, because if not our young generation learn this, less who gonna be look after this generation. Now this is not easy. So that's why I have to say, because I'm still living in this boat. I used to play gamelan, I used to do Balinese dance, I used to cook all Balinese, and I'm still involved. That's why I have to say this is not easy. So why all of you guys today we're meeting here, we need all of your support. We need all of your support, how to giving time, how to giving space for our young generation, penetrating the modern life, and then still have time to study our tradition.
Okay.
So it's not easy. I'll give you the real challenge.
Okay. But Bagus, I'm going to give you a question. Well, no, I, there's a running joke in Bali sometimes. This is just in my family. When my dad talked to my mom, who's Balinese, she says, if you spend less time doing ceremonies and upacara, you get more things done. So what do you think about that?
Yeah, that's depend. Yeah, from what perspective you gonna think about that word. I think when we perspect that word from a business or economy perspective, I have to say that true. I'm a Balinese. Yeah, we have 132 ceremony every year. This is the formal one, not including the cremation, not including the wedding, not including a Balinese birthday. Yeah, this is the formal one like Galungan, Saraswati. Okay, but let's move to another perspective. Yeah, because I born as a Balinese. In my life, I don't really care only about economy. Yeah, but when we see from spiritual level, this is going to be different thing. Yeah, we happy to do that. Yeah, when we're talking about happiness, this is going to be nothing to do with your time, nothing to do with your money. But when you feel happy, this is spiritualism, because spiritualism going to teach us living in the paradise, not how to get the paradise. Yeah, this is the depend on from what perspective you said. This is why this is a big challenge. How you can moderating the time, the different age of generation, the challenge of the world economy, especially during the COVID. Yeah, this is why as a Balinese, I really need all of your support here. So let's face this out together as a member of a Balinese people, because Balinese people is not only a Hindu people. Balinese people is who living in Bali, who love this culture, who love this environment, who love this island.
Nice. Thank you, Baguste.
Yeah.
So upacara and ceremonies make us happy, and because we're living in paradise, we get to feel the paradise. So now we're going to the second part of the webinar, which is an open Q&A. That means you as the audience can ask any questions and we can find solutions together, especially now that we have three amazing speakers who have a lot of experience in permaculture, in creating movement for the farmers. And as you can see, during these COVID times, they're very, very busy. So that means if you need some advice on any of your challenges right now in your business, or you have any problems, maybe share it here and we can solve the problem together. Any first questions?
Okay, hi, my name is Andrea. I met some of you are new to Be Greener. It's great that we're growing and becoming bigger. I have been absent. I'm in India in lockdown, but looking to come back soon and be more engaged. Anyway, my question, actually, as I've been in this situation, I've been pondering a lot on the future, as I'm sure many of you have as well. And my natural number one priority for me, and what I think is probably for many people, is how do we grow our own food? So, and as I was coming into lockdown, my first thing was how can I find a farm to learn, and how can I use my time here wisely? Unfortunately, a lot of these places around here would not accept people from outside, or they were locked down. And I've got some amazing projects around here. But so I'm wondering, as I heard, I came late into the meeting, I had some technical difficulties, but I heard that there are permaculture projects going on, and I heard about the kindergarten that also involves gardening. So I think this is great. I think it's amazing, and I think that's the way to go in the future, absolutely. And I'm just wondering if there is, and I also saw some of the chats, someone was saying we have land, etc. I'm just wondering if there would be an interest and an initiative to start something which is like an ongoing project of bringing in school kids or anyone really who's willing to learn how to grow food, whether it's permaculture or organic or obviously pesticide free, and creating a larger scale project. And I know that's maybe ambitiously seen, but if we can all sort of pitch in and help out together and make that sort of our baby.
Andrea, you made a very good point. I mean, essentially, what are the first steps if you want to grow your own food? So, I mean, it's easy to talk about, you know, let's go pesticide free, let's grow our own food. But what would be the first step? Maybe any of our speakers has an idea, a first step. What do you need? The number one step. Krishna, go ahead.
Why me? Okay.
Permaculture, man.
So, sorry, can you repeat the question just a little bit? Kind of like.
So the question is simple. I want to grow my own food, right? I wanna grow my own food. What is the first step? Like honestly, because everybody comes from many, you know, some houses have a garden, some do not, some have a roof, some do not. What is the first step? Do you join a seminar? Do you go out with the farmers and talk to them? What is the first step if it was you?
Really, the first step for gardening is to just garden, is to just try to plant something. If you're growing for yourself, I would always tell people, first, try to grow something. Don't be sad if it fails. Learn from it. Because only when you actually try to garden first, don't try to go actually to any seminars, don't try to watch any YouTube videos, something like that. Just through your knowledge, grow something first, because you need a benchmark. You need a benchmark seeing what's the problem, what's going on to my plants. Oh, this is what happens. When you watch without any references or any learn through any seminars, workshops and stuff like that, and you haven't gardened, you actually become a bit more confused seeing all these solutions that people give because you haven't seen any problems yet. So I would always suggest people to actually get your hands dirty, start planting, and through that experience, then learn. That's still the best way.
Yeah. Krishna, that's a very simple answer, yet so efficient. Start planting. Honestly, I don't know the price of seeds, but it could be from 1,000 to 3,000 for one seed. And like you said, if it dies, let it die. That's okay. You learn from it. Okay. I mean,
can I sorry.
Yes, David, please add on to that or counter.
Yeah, well, if I could just jump in a sec, just because I've just done this actually, so I've just gone through this experience. So I live here in Beijing, you know, about 15 minutes out of Ubud, and obviously the first thing you need to do this is land, right? So I've got a bit of land out the back of my villa, probably around about an hour, maybe a little bit more, and I wanted to grow my own vegetables, but I really didn't have a clue how to do it. So I knew a Balinese farmer who lives nearby, and he's been farming all his life. on his own property, not to sell, but just to grow for himself. And he's never ever used chemicals. So obviously he has that indigenous knowledge. And so he came around only about 2 months ago and started to work on the property and, you know, obviously cleared the land a bit and got the soil going, and then used nothing but organic, you know, stuff for the soil. And then we planted vetiver all around the property as well, which strengthens the soil and protects against, you know, flooding and stuff like that. So, and it's been incredible. Honestly, I could show you a photo. I mean, there's so much stuff, so many things that we're growing, and we're now starting to eat it. You know, the idea is just to eat it for ourselves in the villa and give it to the staff and stuff like that. But honestly, it's been a really simple process, and he has some special spray, organic spray, to keep the bugs away. We had a little bit of a problem with that, but that's all gone now. So it's been a great success. So I can just say from my experiences, it was really quite simple. And I love going out there every day. I haven't been that involved in actually doing the work, but, you know, and watching this garden grow, I mean, it's such a buzz and it's just going crazy. It's just so easy, it seems, to grow the, you know, in this kind of soil. Obviously the healthier the soil, the better. But anyway, I just wanted to share that.
That's amazing, David. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. I mean, gardening can seem not for everybody, but it is for everybody. Just start planting. Do we have any other challenges that we can share with the group that you'd like some ideas from? Or perhaps you have a piece of land, you don't know what to do with it. Yes, Paulina, please. Living Food Lab.
Yes, hello, thank you. This has been so inspiring, and I'm in awe. I have a lot of respect for all of you speakers and Krishna, moderator. Thank you very much. What to do if you want to grow your own food but don't have land but have a concrete building? So our two cafes at the Green School are in lush jungle, but I have no idea about the future of the Green School. Closed now and looks until the end of the year, but we are based in a concrete building in Canggu. And in terms of urban farming, I'm hoping this extends the possibility to actually also grow something in an environment where there is no soil to begin with.
Anybody wants to take that one? Any of the speakers? Maybe Krishna, who experienced urban farming?
Okay. Actually, here's the surprising thing about urban gardening. I mean, this is in Canggu, yeah. The thing is, people think sometimes when it's urban gardening, because it's small space, it can't really be as productive. Actually, because you are living in a small space, and because the intensity of because of that small space, you actually have more intensity and care to that space. So it actually will always get better abundance, like the abundance of produce in an urban small scale area rather than large scale farming, because you're constantly actually nurturing those small spaces. I have a garden on top of concrete in my house because I wanted to actually build a garden for people. It's like, here is on top of concrete. It's actually better than the one in my garden because actually you get more of the effect of the elements when you're actually in the garden, and it takes time for nature to balance out, to actually have that balance within a more of a land-based agriculture. But when you're actually in urban and concrete area, you kind of made a little pot of a situation. I always prefer people making giant beds rather than using pots, so all the root systems are connected. But really, you don't need, if you can get soil, a little bit of mix, it's always good. But you can, in Bali, it's actually really easy to get a proper good cow dung. Just get a really black one. That's always the key of getting good compost, because there's not really much production in compost here. I generally mix it from elephant dung, which is very rare, but awesome. But you can, there are a few like in Ubud and stuff, but you can always get like a really good black fertilizer from cow. just get a really black one, so it's actually good composted. And then you just pile and mix with your soil and put mulch, and you can already produce so much in these urban landscape. I actually have a friend in Canggu who has only 40 meter square garden, 20 meters down below in the ground, and 20 meters square up on his roof. Producing 20 meter square. He's producing. He has a chicken coop, and then he built the garden on the top of and he's producing anything by means of. If he's growing eggplants, he's abundant in eggplants. He eats eggplants. There's Brazilian spinach. There's Chinese cabbages. There's chilies, and he's growing all these herbs, and that's enough for anything that he's harvesting. He's abundant of, and that 20 meter square is enough for him, especially in spices, to cover for him. The eggs are amazing because he does he was one of my students, and I taught him how to make chicken composting system that feeds the chicken while making you compost. And he produced in 20 meter square with 20 chickens, 150 eggs per month, constantly, in 20 meter square. And this is in Canggu, in the middle of the city, in a perumahan, in a co-housing.
I want to visit the friend. Can you share his contact? I want to visit. I think the people in Canggu want to see this guy. Learn from him.
The thing is, he actually sells a lot of his seedlings, and first he was giving it away, and nobody wants to take it on it, and now everybody wants it. It's funny how free people are not attracted to. It's when you have actually value a little bit that really gets people in interest.
Oh man,
he's actually an architecture and a very good one.
Isn't that like the story of also pot chocolate and you know, Mane General's restaurant? Like in the beginning, no one wanted to do it, and then once you did it, everybody wants to do it. Isn't that the life story of every vegan restaurant or successful business in Bali? All right. Paulina, I hope Krishna answered your question, and I do hope that Krishna will share his friend's contact to you, so he can you can see it. And I like to see also where this chicken coop is and learn more from that. Does anybody have any more questions? Another question, maybe a challenge about Balinese culture, maybe? Yes, my dad, Papa, Daniel, go ahead.
Okay, so I'm very happy to, I'm sorry, I'm not very familiar with this online story. But if I can give my own experiences, like we are in Canggu with Serenity Eco Guest House already more than 20 years. And to give a practical answer, because that's the most important things, the practical part, which one I'm the most interesting with that. We are following the permaculture system since 20 years. We learned from the Sunrise School. It was great. When Krishna, this big guy in front of you, he was just 8-10 years old. And so what we do in a practical way, we are working on this permaculture system. And actually, it's not very complicated. You know, I mean, we are working on 3 principles. The first principle is, even you have big land or small land or whatever you have, there is always something you can do. It's like what Krishna was saying, just go and plant. But then now you have to see what you want to plant. Is it something will bring sweet fruit, or is it something will bring something disturbing, right? So we are working on 3 principles. The first principle is grow everything you can eat. And it's very easy. You know, instead to have, you know, I mean, most of the villa, they have all this plantation, maybe beautiful, but useless. I mean, you cannot eat. So the first one, you can just do, plant whatever you want. You know, you can have your herbs, you can have your tomato, your chili, your basilic, whatever you want to plant, you can just do in your land, in your property. This is just about your mind, you know. And the second principle is we plant everything that can heal you. You know, I mean, like you can visit in our place. Now we organize a permaculture tour in our place. And if you have a dengue fever, you don't need to go to the doctor. You can just come to us and I will give you a sembiroto for free. You know, I mean, you can cure in 1 week how the dengue fever. Or if you have a kidney problem or if you have a cancer, I mean, we don't want to pretend to be a doctor, because that's a different story. But it's very easy. You know, like in permaculture, we call guilds. A guild is like around one tree, maybe 3 meters square. Just grow whatever, you know, like a ginger, red turmeric, white turmeric. I mean, all this Balinese stuff, like, you know, I mean, Ida Bagus, he talk about Balinese tradition and culture. Everyone know about this here. It's easy to get seed. It's cheap, and wherever you want to do, you can do it. And the third principle, just I finish. The third principle is we grow whatever is beautiful and fragrant. So with these three principles, you can just turn out your balcony, your terrace, or whatever you want in a simple, and, you know, I mean, we have papaya, banana, we have moringa, we have so much things from our place, completely organic, and voila, simple.
Thank you, Dad. So that's actually a good point. You know, so permaculture that I've also learned is to grow things you can eat, things that can heal you, and things that smell good. I'm wondering, for the permaculture experts in this group, if that is also the philosophy that you guys are following. Pak Janur, maybe Krishna, maybe Pak Guste, is that also the philosophy that you're following in terms of what is a garden? Is a garden only to be pretty, or can be useful? Do you have any philosophy that you follow that we can also follow for those joining this meeting? Pak Guste, you're on mute.
Like what I said in the beginning, we have hard chocolate. We don't have our own farm. Yeah? So maybe you guys are well known. Indonesia is the third biggest country in the world produce cacao. What does it mean? Yeah, we're number 3 in the world after Ghana, after Ivory Coast. So I'm not talking about garden here. Honestly, maybe you guys all talking about how to planting on your own house. I fully agree with that. Just for your own support. I'm talking about world food support. Yeah, Indonesia is a huge country. Even Bali, in Cembrana, we have 1,000 hectares of cacao plantation. So again, I'm just keep focusing how to educate all of these farmers, not only cacao farmers, and not only the old generation, but also the old family of the farmers must be fully understand and aware they can living good, even just become a farmers.
That's good. So
yeah.
You're talking about how to produce a lot of cacao without also destroying the environment itself, right?
Yeah, exactly. So that's why we're becoming plant-based, and then also we're not using palm oil. Like, yeah, I don't want to say the branded. Yeah, like we're not using palm oil. So our chocolate 100% pure coconut chocolate.
Okay, thank you for the. Does anybody have a farm in their house they want to share about the philosophy that they follow?
Krishna, I can share something.
Yeah, buddy, please.
And this goes back to Paula's question and about where to get started. Well, first of all, it's nice to hear from everybody here, and thank you, Alex, for inviting me. And it's good to see you, Krishna, and Made Janur, and Johnny also. Good to see my friends here. But so of course, when the key to healthy plants is good, healthy soil. And the key for that is the diversity in the soil, and we feed that that ecology with organic matter. So good compost is really important, and in many ways the starting point. And I just wanted to mention, because about a really amazing facility here in Ubud, for those of you who are in Ubud, that I've had the pleasure of getting to know and partnering with in the last several months, just in this COVID situation, which is Rumah Compost Padang Tegal. So this is the whole waste collection system of Ubud. So you've seen probably many organic and non-organic bins around Ubud. So all that organic waste comes back to this compost factory, which is in the parking area of the monkey forest, and it all gets chipped up, and at a very large scale, they're producing really good compost. And I've had the pleasure of helping to start a garden there. Pak Madi Janur was there in the beginning as well, as an advisor, and then we've basically been working on creating an example of a permaculture garden that can inspire people and show people who come to get the compost there. Which, by the way, that whole operation for waste management, it's all grassroots, supported by the community, run by the community. You know, it's basically Desa Padang Tegal land, and our partnership is with Pak Made Gandra, the Bendesa, and they're really. I've just been so inspired to see everybody there. How much inspiration and motivation they have to create a good example for Bali, and I think we're all so blessed to be in this place, and we really have a good opportunity right now to spread organic and permaculture, and you know, I mean, whatever philosophy, whatever we call it, it's just becoming more producers rather than consumers, right? So if you need good compost, they sell good quality compost at the Rumah Compost Padang Tegal, which actually don't rely on the pin on the map because it's not the correct place. That's the old facility. But if you drive into the big parking area of the monkey forest, or otherwise just contact me, I can get you in touch with Deva, the manager there, and for getting good compost. And come visit our garden. Feel free to contact me and stop by and see the example. We're harvesting a lot of vegetables and herbs right now, even after just less than 2 months of breaking ground on that place. Of course, it's got a big cage around it to keep the monkeys out. So because there's a lot of monkeys there. But yeah, I've just, it's been really great. And my company is called True Nature Nusantara, and I've been working with some other great teams here in Bali. And I have a nonprofit organization called Woven Earth as well. And there's, just to close, I've been talking with several people as well about, I mean, one of my major backgrounds is in education, especially like education for youth on permaculture and outdoor education, everything. And we are planning, like I'm talking with a few people who are looking to really bring like permaculture education into the schools in Bali, working with the regencies and the royal families and everything. So I would love to talk more with some of you local amazing teachers like Krishna and Made Janur about being the face of that to inspire inspire the children of Bali. So let's pick that up again.
Wow.
I think that's a lot of where it starts as well, is like how we transform the culture, is getting kids having fun in the garden, getting interested in learning in a natural way.
That's amazing. I mean, I did not know about the composting in Ubud.
Yeah, I didn't know about it. Yeah, it's pretty low key, but it's huge. It's next level. I mean, it's really good, really good quality compost, and you can see proof of that in our garden because the plants have just exploded. It's amazing.
But like Guste said, the key is education. I mean, does anybody have any tips on how to get started? Should we spread it somewhere?
Krishna, if I could just have a...
Please, Rob, yes.
Yeah, I just firstly to say I'm deeply grateful for all the presenters. It's absolutely extraordinary and inspiring listening to your stories and how you started and what inspired you and giving back. I have a yoga studio down here in Canggu, and we have a huge giving back program, which so it speaks exactly to what you guys talk about. So you know, certainly the offer is within each of you individually or collectively is we're really, really happy to do more and more and more. My permaculture journey started about 18 months ago on the island of Sumba, not even Bali, and it was an extraordinary man called Mark Garrett, who is one of the, worked with the pioneers of permaculture years and years ago, and he so inspired me. I have a project over in Karana, and it's completely changed the way I look at that project, and we made significant changes all the way through to water catchment, to installing solar power, redesigning the garden spaces, and how we're going to approach that. So I'm inspired and really excited, and one of the reasons I'm on here because I want some help. And I heard you, Krishna, and I love what you do, and I love the urban approach, and I know I just put some good soil from Woody and his team in there and put in there, and I can do that. I get that. I'm an engineer. I get how to do it, but I'd love to be inspired, and I'd love to work with people that are passionate. And I also know it's a time when there are people that are looking for work or some sort of commitment. So I'd love to work with someone one-on-one or within a collective, or if there's a way we can bring some locals in that are passionate and you've been mentoring or some sort of apprenticeship or whatever, and come and get their hands dirty and work in a real world environment. Because I'm building a beautiful, extraordinary, gorgeous modern house, but my goal is that one of the things you talked about was balance. I've kind of moved away from the word balance, and I tend to use the word integrated. So I approach things from an integrated approach. You know, there is spirituality and there is practical, you know, there is modern and there is organic. So I'm really approaching these things much from that perspective. And I think what Krishna talked about in terms of having a rooftop garden, well, there's a concrete structure with some dirt creating food. So, I mean, I love the principles of permaculture, and I'm deeply, deeply committed to Bali and ways that I can support that going forward. So hats off to all of you. I really appreciate that. And I've got so much from this already and so many wonderful contacts. And I look forward to you. And the last thing, and Alex is an extraordinary facilitator, is I'm wondering whether there's a willingness to create some sort of permaculture group, you know, whether it be via WhatsApp or whatever, and you can share experiences and seeds and contacts and compost and all of that stuff. So I'm just going to put that out there for the group, and let's see where it goes. But once again, deeply grateful for everyone who's presented today. Thank you.
That's a really good point. There is no such grand movement for permaculture in Bali, and yet we have all these amazing people already in this meeting. We have Pak Madejano, we have Krishna, we have Guste, we have my dad, of course, with Serenity, with the guest house, you know. So there's not one general movement. And the best part, I think, is that all this can make a living for people, can make a living for people who are maybe unemployed now. Now, I'd like to throw a question up there, and I'd like to hear some responses.
May I say something just before? It's a really quick one.
Go ahead, Krishna.
First of all, Pak Ide Bagus, I called you Pak Made, wrong name. I'm so sorry. So Pak Ide Bagus. Second one of the things that I really like about what Pak Ide Bagus is, and I think it's like, I know the beauty of what cacao production is, especially in Bali, is actually the biodiversity within the forest. And I think a lot of people, when actually connect to permaculture, is actually always thinking about, sometimes it's always gardens and stuff like that, but it's actually more of a food forest. And actually to see the abundance of produce, you see the most abundant in the systems that the Balinese actually grow their cacao and coffee. It's amazing the amount of layers of the forest and the abundance of produce they get from these food forests. And the thing is, that's where all the nutrients goes to the rice paddies, and then that's the edges they go the garden. So I think that connection, that large that natural connection between the forest, the gardens, the rice paddies, and everything, and what Ida Bagus is actually supporting into that understanding is what actually is really important to people to learn. If you want to see the full potential of how permaculture is already integrated into the Balinese culture, it's actually within these forests, and it's already done so well in the traditional coffee gardens and in traditional cacao gardens, because it's already embedded into them, the farmers and stuff like that. And that's really where, when you go to the city, you just make smaller forests. You don't really make gardens. You still have gardens and vegetables, but you still have trees. So you're basically making little forests, because without forests, you really won't get much sustainability into this garden, because that's the main support of the system. That's it. Back to you, Chris.
That's a good point, because there's always a danger when talking about mass production that it's people say that, oh, this is monoculture, one crop, it's bad for the environment, it's not permaculture. But like you said, we have to take inspiration from what's already happening in Bali. I would love to visit one of Gusde's farm one day if he lets us, to see how are you able to produce a lot of cacao, but still following permaculture principles. So that's a very important point. It's very quick to say, oh, you make one type of crop that may not be permaculture, but I think just I would like to visit and learn more about that. Anything to add about that, Guste? Krishna was complimenting you and saying that because you're combining the concept of traditional way of harvesting cacao, you're not destroying the environment in a sense, but you're making it better. So he was just complimenting you. Do you want to add anything about that? Unmute. There you go.
Okay. So thank you very much, Pak Krishna. I've been very appreciated about that. So I think this is the reward of a hard work here. Like I not one of what you said. It's very hard to educate farmers. It's very hard. So yeah, and now in the beginning we just working with like 10 or 15 farmers. Now in Bali itself, we will work together with more than 1,000 farmers already. Yeah, I think all of you guys will able to do like this because Indonesia still have a lot of resource. So like keju, they are everywhere in Indonesia. There's like brown sugar, they are everywhere. Seaweed, sea salt, they are everywhere from Indonesia. So people like us, we have link, we have education, we have ability or maybe financing. We just can come and look after something like this of Eastern. Now we're penetrating Eastern of Indonesia, like Sumba, Flores, which is they have beautiful land. They have huge resource about salt, about peanut and everything, but they don't have the knowledge yet. And they don't know where to sell this product. They're already a great farmer. So yeah, I'm not saying stop farming in a small area but for Indonesia, this is not the time to talking about a small piece of land. Sorry to say on this meeting, yeah, this is not the time. Come on, guys, travel to east of Indonesia, travel to west of Indonesia, go to Aceh. You will find 1 million hectares of empty land. 1,000 and 1 million of farmers need your ability, need your knowledge, need your link, need your touch. They already exist farmers. There are 1 million around Indonesia. Just contact me if you want to get a detailed one. I know what is it. What you're looking for, let me know. I've been exploring this country. This is rich country. That's my word.
That's a really strong argument. Think big, right? There's a lot of potential. Johnny from Bali Echo Stay. Yes. Do you have a question or a problem or a statement?
Yes, big problem. In the 10 years that we've lived up in the southern slopes of Mount Batukaru, there's been a fungus that's attacked the cacao trees. And I was wondering if any of our speakers know of any latest remedies to get rid of this fungus, because it's a huge cash crop which is now virtually non-existent up here.
Cacao fungus. Yes, Aguste, go ahead.
Okay, Mr. John, nice to meeting you. Okay, first of all, just get my private contact. Yeah, we can go with detailed, but normally the fungus will happen. The farmers doesn't doing special treatment before the rainy season. Normally, before the rainy season, you have to trim the trunk of the cacao trees. Yeah, don't let it so many. That's the first one. And the second one, you have to use like pheromone. Pheromone is a natural pesticide.
Yeah.
Yeah. What is it? Pheromone? Maybe we can chat privately. And then just take a note. Did the farmer look after the cacao trees consistently? That's one. Yeah. If it not, you can send me address. Where is the farmer and how big is the land? I can collaborate with my team to educate your farmers. This is all about education.
Fantastic.
That happened. Yeah.
Thanks so much.
Yeah.
Wow, that's like the best question to ask in this webinar. Now, I have a question to anybody who wants to answer. Maybe somebody who hasn't talked yet. If you had the power to change one thing, one regulation in Bali, what would it be? Does anybody have any answer? Maybe someone who has not talked yet. If you could have the power to change one thing in Bali, what would it be and why? Someone who hasn't talked yet. There's no wrong answer. There's no wrong answer. I'm just curious, is it to change some laws, maybe in terms of Roderick? You want to say something, Roderick?
Sure. And in fact, I think if possible, I'd like to change that question slightly, if I may. Also want to echo my thanks for a great talk and lots of familiar faces out there. Very, very inspiring. I'm chiming in from Jakarta, where I've lived for a long time, but I'm a regular visitor to Ubud. And I run 2 small eco resorts, one in Pulau Seribu called Pulau Macan, and just started about 1.5 years ago a new project in Pelabuhan Ratu, where I'm hoping to build an eco village also based on the principles of permaculture. So I think also what Ida Bagus was talking about earlier in terms of thinking big, the question becomes, instead of changing a policy or a law in Bali, what is the best thing to do right now in light of COVID and the current economic crisis that Bali is facing? And as I was listening to the talk, I was inspired by the idea that, Hita, Karana, and permaculture are such strong principles, but they're also connected to this philosophy in Indonesia about Bhinneka Tunggal Ika, right, which is the unity and diversity. And instead of looking at immediately opening back up to mass tourism, which is what the whole BaliPledge is kind of about, is let's highlight the best examples of Trihita Karana and permaculture. And instead of marketing those to the international community, let's market all of those examples to all of the cities across Indonesia. We've got, Surabaya, we've got Medan, we've got Makassar, we've got all of these cities with millions and millions of people who are dying to get out and who want to start tourism in their own areas, right? So if somehow Bali, and maybe through the connections of this group, I just saw an article this morning actually about the governor, the Wakil Gubernur Chokorda Oka Arta, talking about wisata alam and wisata budaya, right? So culture and nature tourism, and that being the focus. So if somehow we, through this group or through other connections, can market the best examples in Bali of ecotourism, of permaculture, of restaurants like Moksha, which is my favorite restaurant, and really highlight these examples and invite all of our brothers and sisters from across Indonesia to come and learn from those examples, and also see how beautiful Balinese culture is and how much of a part of everyday life it is, so that we can then inspire those folks to go back and start up their own awesome examples of tourism in their areas, so that when the world gets back to a kind of a normalcy, hopefully Indonesia can promote these examples. And I guess part of the reason that I'm saying this is because Jakarta's got 24 million people, and my little eco resort out there with 13 rooms and a few driftwood huts, all run on solar power, is full. You know, like we're booked solid, and so is the place in Pelabuhan Ratu, and that's because we've got millions and millions of people inside Jakarta's or inside Indonesian cities who are dying to get out. So that's just a little sort of big picture thought that I wanted to get out there and spread. And again, thank you all to all of the amazing speakers. And for those of you who are my friends, I miss you. Wonderful to see you, and hope to be back in Ubud soon.
Thank you, Roderick. So that's actually a very good point. What if the government, instead of promoting all of Indonesia to mass tourism, what if we marketed the best examples of Bali to other cities in Indonesia? That's a good point. That's a good point. Does anybody have another take on that question? You know, if you had the ultimate power to change one thing in Bali in terms of the law or regulation.
May I?
Go ahead, Krishna. Go ahead.
I would like, if that's the case, and I know this is not going to be something that a lot of people would agree upon, is to do Bali or do any sort of tourism around Indonesia like they do it in Komodo and Bhutan. So
how is that like in Komodo, for those who don't know?
Limiting actually, because like the amount of trash that comes with tourism is immense, and right now there's actually a drop about the amount of trash. We went from a day of for Bali, a day of 4,000 tons of trash, mixed trash every day coming out. Now because of COVID, it dropped to 900 tons per day. Sorry, per day, 4,000 per day. Now it drops down to 9,000 per day, and the thing is with nature tourism and stuff like that, we can't really have a lot of people coming in and out to those systems, because if you have a constant amount of people going into these nature reserves and stuff like that, that actually destroys the nature, and you can't control the people who actually come. And the end, you actually it becomes a little bit of it actually becomes a little bit of a problem for to maintain nature stuff. I'm not an expert in tourism or anything. It's just that it's just a very interesting thing that Komodo did to save and preserve the Komodo Isles. People actually have to pay quite a little bit more, and actually limiting the amount of people that actually come to actually maintain the nature and the population of the Komodo. And the same with Bhutan. Yearly, they put this much amount of cap. There's a tax for the tourism. So people who come there really come to actually live with us through our culture, see our nature, respect it, and live and learn from it. And that was always an interesting thing for me, what they did.
That is an interesting point of view, you know, limiting tourism. Now, I mean, obviously, as a guest house ourselves, right now, the last thing we're thinking about is limiting tourism. But that could be a solution in the future, to try to say, hey, we'll have a quota for how many people. So personally, also the same, I'm not an expert on tourism, but does anybody have any other solutions in terms of protecting Bali for the environment? So we had limiting the quota, the number of people. Does anybody have anything to say, to add, or to counter maybe? No? Dad, you're on mute.
Yeah, so So of course, you know, I mean, the great things of this 2020, that's something we forget, is when Costa he put the regulation about stop plastic in Bali. That was 15 years project, but yeah, he had been done by the new governor, right? So when you say like that, mandatory, that stopping the plastic everywhere, that's a good stuff, you know what I mean? So if I was on politic, of course, the second things I will say, I will ask to progressively to ask to all the farmer to stop all the chemical and turn on permaculture. So it can be a huge window uh, um, to forfeit the tree Karana, you know, because what is the problem today is, I mean, growing stuff, if there is no chemical, so of course, I mean, it will take some time, but that will be the solution for Bali, because as soon as you stop chemical, you are producing organic, and if you're producing organic, everyone will win on the situation, from the pot chocolate, from Mr. Made in Ubud, everyone, you know. So the plastic was, it was a huge decision. We was waiting this one for a long time, but I will say the second one, say, try to reduce and start to learn how we can grow our crops without chemical.
All right.
Yeah.
So if you had ultimate power in Bali and you could change one thing, it would be to reduce the amount of chemicals. So we're nearing the end of our webinar, and I'd like to have one question which I'm very curious to ask, and I don't want to create any problems or anything, but there's a general sense that there's, let's say, locals and foreigners with expats, and both sides have something to give, but sometimes they're not seeing eye to eye, or sometimes the ideas feels too much on one side. Sometimes the idea feels too local or too foreign. Does anybody have any ideas on how to connect the two to work together? Because quite often, either parties have great ideas, but they have a hard time to connect to the other party. Does any have had any insights on what has already been done that really helped? Or what can we do to connect the two parties, the locals and the expat foreigners? Does anybody, I don't want to offend anybody, I'm just curious to know. Does anybody have an insight on this? Pak Guste, yes, Mr. Bali.
Okay, I think honestly, if all of us realize in this time in Bali, no more local and expert. Yeah, so we have to, like, if you still remember my word, Balinese people is who living in Bali, who love this island, who will look after our culture and who will look after our environment. Yeah, so how to connect? Yeah, one of my partner, he was Australian. Toby come to Bali like nearly 20 years, and now he become an Indonesian. So yeah, how to connect? This is not easy. Yeah, you have to be has really the same philosophy of what you're gonna build. So if your philosophy is willing to develop the social, develop the environment resource, the local resource, just do it. But if you don't know well each other, yeah, if you don't know well each other, so better you think about it, because there's gonna be a lot of obstacle in the future while you run something together here in this island. Especially we Balinese is like one profile of Indonesian people. When you go to the eastern of Indonesia, you will see people just same like us. We really respect our tradition, which is culture is changing by the time. I fully agree with what Moksa restaurant owner said already. Yeah, so the culture is changing all the time. I agree, but there are something principle about tradition. We respect it more than our religion, or sometimes more than our economy life. There is still life in our Balinese I mean, soul or our Balinese community. And this is really sensitive. This is what people from outside in the beginning have to know about it, have to learn about it, and fully aware, really deep, not just from the casing. Because there are some sensitive area that's gonna be like good and evil in the future. If you know it well and you realize it well and you're aware about it, everything will be okay. But if you're not, you have to find it out, not only from one situation or one person, one village, because we're talking about tradition. People, yeah, like Papua, because my background, I was an adventure tour guide. So I'm exploring Indonesia. Yeah, I love all of the people culture, but some area, they really, really love the tradition. So if you try to destroying their tradition, yeah, they will kill you. Something like that. Yeah, you can say bad to my religion. That's okay, but don't try to destroy our tradition. Something like that. Yeah. So here also as a Balinese, I'm a Balinese. I'm already feeling a lot of positive effect of international people come to Bali. A lot. Yeah, like honestly, in my team, yeah, I have Toby. He was coming from Australia. That he bring a lot of new technology, new perspective. We can adopt it here in Bali. So we grow as a big company. Yeah, honestly, we're the biggest chocolate company in Bali. We're the first chocolate company in Indonesia. You can find all Starbucks, 500 store. That's because of collaboration of Balinese and Western.
Thank you, Pak Jose. That's a really strong point. It doesn't matter who you are. If you live in Bali, you're part of Bali. Just respect the tradition. So that's a strong point. I'd like to hear from Pak Janur. Yes.
I want to piggyback on what Pak Ida Bagus said. I fully agree. You know, collaboration is make our you know, I run into a lot of my friend. Oh, I'm an expat. You know, how can I do this? How I can do that? Let's collaboration. You know, that's the best way to do this. You know, you have the expertise. You have the idea. You know, we are local here. We understand. You know, especially all people here. You know, Pak Ida Bagus. Krishna, we all, what you call this, like a nasi campur, you know, in some way. So we all, you know, because we're traveling, because we are interacting with your side, I mean, saying your side is like Western side. So we understand how you think, you know, and then you interact with us and I can translate that, or Pak Ida Bagus can translate that. And then that's what all of this thing make a success. You know, with my plastic project right now, I have 2 people from outside, from United States and England, and one is from Russia, that collaborate with me to do this. You know, but I am the one in the front right now, as you know, because I'm Balinese, I can go to the village because I understand. I can talk to the Banjar, you know, I can go there with the support, with all of this team behind me. That, yeah, as we're speaking right now, I have about 10 villages that requesting how I can do this, the plastic exchange. I want to do it, you know, so because I'm Balinese, I can go there, I can talk, I can have a coffee, you know, I can talk about religion, I can talk about your family. It's all about relationship, you know, because I'm from this country, I'm Balinese, so use me, you know, use us, meaning like, let's collaborate. That's the only way we can get things done. So
that's a strong point, Pak Janur. You know, collaborate, and it doesn't matter who's at the figurehead, the person that you see, as long as the movement is happening. And I'd like to hear also from Krishna. You know, what do you know, how can we connect more between the locals and the expats? Go ahead.
Yeah, it's actually an interesting question, especially my generation and as a mixed kid. You too. There's always, at least in the youth culture, you can always truna truni, the use of the Balinese, and they're their own bubble. They got their own kind of like structure, which is the STT, the truna truni. and then you got the Western kids who came over. Some were actually born here and actually grew up. And then you got us as mixed kids. We're kind of in the middle of it all. Okay, we're lucky enough to actually, if we can actually go back and forth between the two. Most of the time, we're actually lost. It's like, where are we? Well, it's like a little bit of a cultured loss. It's like, which part am I? I don't know. And I see a lot of that. And I grew up in Bali, and I live with the Turuna back in the village. I also live with the mixed kids that connected me to the Western people in Sanur. And there's always this little weird thing that never really connects. It was like it never really go together as much as it is. But I noticed it was actually really simple, like what Pa Janur said. It's like, really, if the local and the expats want to chill, just go to the Banjar. It's like, chill with them. Like, that's it. Just chill, play some cards, drink some arak, and all is good. And all is friends. It's just like, do some post gambling, walking around the village. It's like, have a chat with them, tell some stories. That's really socializing. And it's like, I think that never really happens because a bit of the culture, kind of like it doesn't really like. Yeah, I guess you just have to try, and you just kind of mix and just share. That really never happened that much. I'm surprised as much as it is, and that's through my own experience. And I haven't actually, like most of you guys here, had lived way longer than I've been in this. Lived in Bali, I mean. I think it's like, I think that's really the way to it. And I think just living with them and understanding them.
If I can recap, basically, spend more time with the Banjar. Spend time with them, because everybody is human. They just want to get to know you.
Yeah. And the thing is, it's like, especially in the village, Balinese are really shy. But when they're open, things really come out. And sometimes it's really dirty.
You do some act, it'll be fine. All right, and so that will be the end of this webinar. I want to say a big thank you to Pak Guste, to Pak Janur, and Pak Krishna, and thank you all for coming. Reminding to you all that the BaliPledge is happening. It's a movement. We already have many pledges. If you've already pledged, thank you very much. Please share the word. If you haven't pledged, please go ahead. Hita Karana is not something new. It's not a new invention. It's a philosophy that has made Bali what it is today. Every one of us is here, either born and came back, or born and stayed here, or came here and stayed here because of what Bali is. It could be anywhere in the world, but somehow we're all gathered here from this beautiful place called Bali. And I want to thank you all for your time and your energy. And we hope to see you at the next webinar. We have the next speakers. Thank you very much.